2020, Davos, World Economic Forum. On stage, Wirecard CEO Markus Braun. He speaks about the company's record-breaking growth and the future of global online payments. In the audience, representatives from Deutsche Bank, Visa, MasterCard, and finance ministers. Markus boasts about massive profits of over $2 billion, supposedly held in accounts at banks in Asia. At the same time, a bank employee in the Philippines opens a vault. Inside, nothing. No cash, no documents. Behind the grand presentation and impressive numbers was the largest financial fraud in Germany's history. How did Wirecard manage to deceive investors, regulators, and the entire market? Where did the $2 billion go? And most importantly, would you recognize a lie if it's told on stage in Davos under the applause of ministers? (1999). In the city of Aschaffenburg, Germany, a little-known company named Wirecard appears. Its first clients were adult websites, online casinos, and betting services, businesses that traditional banks avoided. But Wirecard saw an opportunity. The company started processing online payments for those deemed undesirable by the financial system. It took a commission from every transaction, and that's how the company started earning serious money. In 2002, Markus Braun joins the company, a tech guy with ambition and charisma. He didn't just see a future in Wirecard, he wanted to turn it into a financial giant. A year later, Braun becomes CEO. Everything changes from that point on. Wirecard begins to grow, but a serious challenge emerges. In the mid-2000s, the United States passes a law prohibiting financial companies from processing payments for online gambling. The entire industry suffers, and Wirecard most of all. Half of its revenue disappears in just a few weeks. By all indicators, the company should have downsized, but that never happened. In the financial reports, growth. In public speeches, optimism. Instead of a crisis, new markets. Wirecard starts buying up obscure companies in Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America. Some of them barely functioning, others existing only on paper. But these firms become the foundation of a new business model. They're called partners, through which Wirecard allegedly processes billions in transactions. New sources of profit appear in the reports. Money seemingly comes out of nowhere, but looks entirely legitimate. The operations are led by Jan Marsalek. Young, ambitious, the perfect executor. He sets up the partner structure in Asia and oversees transactions that are almost impossible to verify. The system is opaque, complex, but looks effective from the outside. Documents are signed, accounts opened, transactions completed. These transactions form the success the company presents to the world. Meanwhile, Braun builds a completely different image. He steps into the public eye, appears at conferences, forums, and investor summits, speaks as the new face of financial technology, talks about global payments, innovation, and the digital transformation of banking. The media quote him, investors listen, and Wirecard becomes a star in German fintech.
Please give a very warm welcome to the CEO and CTO of Wirecard, Dr. Markus Braun.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
But behind the scenes, reality looked very different. As real income began to decline, Wirecard's leadership realized the only way to maintain the image of a successful company and attract new investors was through falsification. At the heart of the scheme were the so-called trust accounts. The company claimed that most of its profits didn't come directly, but through partner companies in Asia. The money, they said, was held in accounts at banks in the Philippines, Singapore, and Dubai. Wirecard insisted that the funds belonged to its partners and that the company merely managed them. This structure provided the perfect cover. Those accounts were nearly impossible to verify. To maintain investor confidence, Wirecard published annual reports showing continuous growth. Revenues rose, markets expanded, the scale was impressive. But all these numbers were fiction. The company created forged documents, fake contracts, and dummy accounts. And it all looked convincing. Wirecard tailored internal reports to match target metrics. The paperwork was flawless, but the money existed only in spreadsheets. Outwardly, it looked like a successful fintech company conquering the global market. Braun personally oversaw the public image. He spoke at forums and conferences, pitching a financial revolution, a digital future, and Wirecard's role in the new world. Ministers, bankers, and investors listened. The press called him the German Steve Jobs.
Additionally, I think we see in many, startups are good triggers of new ideas. So I think a lively economy has both. It has big transforming companies that go out of the comfort zone and go for the new thing. And I don't think at all that having an innovation in your DNA is linked to the size of a company.
In 2018, the company reached its peak. Wirecard joined DAX, the benchmark index of Germany's stock exchange. It became one of the country's 30 most influential companies, alongside Volkswagen, Siemens, and Deutsche Bank. It was a moment of official recognition. Shares soared to 191 euros. Funds poured in. The company's valuation topped $26 billion. Everyone wanted to be part of the story. But not everyone was impressed. Back in 2015, journalists from the Financial Times began their own investigation. The reporters started asking questions. Why had no one seen these partners? Where was the proof of transactions? Why did the company constantly change auditors? Wirecard reacted aggressively. Lawsuits were filed against the Financial Times. Journalists were accused of lying and manipulating markets. Marcus Braun personally claimed it was a conspiracy designed to tank the stock price. The company also hired private investigators. They tracked journalists, dug for dirt, tried to discredit the publication. But the FT didn't back down. They published more facts, each week more convincing. Still, the company held on. The scheme continued. Wirecard managed to maintain the illusion of stability for several more years. Ernst & Young, one of the world's most prestigious audit firms, signed off on the financial statements year after year. No objections, no red flags. Publicly, everything was fine. But internally, Wirecard had long since run out of money to cover even half of what it owed investors. The system would hold, but only until someone asked to verify the facts. And that moment was getting closer. In 2019, the Financial Times published a new series of investigations. But this time, they had proof. The investigation featured former Wirecard employees willing to testify anonymously. They handed over internal documents, fake contracts, falsified reports, records of non-existent transactions. Everything pointed to the same conclusion. Wirecard was a carefully constructed financial scheme. Offshore companies, fictitious payments, pressure on staff who asked too many questions. These were no longer suspicions. They were facts. Still, the company denied everything. Marcus Braun went on German television, repeating, Wirecard was the victim of a conspiracy. He claimed competitors feared the company's success and wanted to destroy it. And the journalists, he said, were simply manipulating the public. It was the same narrative the company had been pushing for years, but this time, things unfolded differently. The market no longer believed. Following FT's latest publication, regulators demanded an audit. Ernst & Young, which had signed off on the company's reports for years, was given a direct task: verify whether $2 billion existed in trustee accounts at banks in the Philippines. Wirecard confirmed the money was there. It was supposedly held in 2 banks in Manila, but when auditors contacted the banks, they got a response that destroyed everything. No such accounts existed. The documents provided by Wirecard were forged, and the banks themselves confirmed it. A few days later, Marcus Braun appeared before the press. His voice no longer carried the same confidence. He admitted the company could no longer confirm the existence of $2 billion. The money, which had appeared in financial reports for years, most likely never existed. After that, everything collapsed. Wirecard's stock price plummeted from 191 euros to 2 euros in a matter of days. The company lost over 90% of its market value. In June 2020, Wirecard officially filed for insolvency. It was the first time in German history that a DAX-listed company became the subject of a criminal investigation. Marcus Braun was arrested. He was charged with fraud, market manipulation, and falsifying financial reports. But he wasn't the only one running the scheme. COO Jan Marsalek disappeared before the investigation began. He was last seen in Vienna, boarding a private jet, never to return. According to the investigation, he had transferred $1.5 billion from Wirecard to personal accounts. Part of the money was converted into cryptocurrency, another part moved through offshore entities. Then came more shocking revelations. Wirecard had spent investor funds on private jets, luxury gifts, real estate, even bribes to officials. A company once valued at $26 billion turned out to be an empty shell. Investors sued. Total losses exceeded $20 billion. As of March 2025, Markus Braun remains under investigation. He denies the charges and claims he was misled by other board members. Jan Marsalek is still at large. Some reports suggest he is hiding in Russia under the protection of intelligence services, but his exact whereabouts remain unknown. I make videos myself, and it's quite a labor-consuming and expensive process, so your best gratitude would be a like and a subscription. Thank you.